everybody, it is Quaking Leaf and I am here in Sun River, Oregon, just south of Bend, and I am here right now with my daughter, Dig Dug.
Hi.
Hey, there's Dig Dug, and we are just about to start hiking from Sun River, Oregon, all the way north to Canada. So that's the new phase of the PCT for me.
Should be great.
Thanks, Dig Dug. But hey, you'll see a lot more of them coming up. But right now, I want to show you a 1,200 mile gear check-in. I'm going to show you the things that worked really well, and I'm going to show you the things that didn't work so well or that had to change. So I'm going to go through this. It's going to be kind of a quick video today, but I wanted to give you a quick update on everything. So first of all, things that worked really well. One thing that I really loved on this trip was my Z-Packs Altiplex. I've been very, very happy with this tent. I've been in this tent for, I don't know, around 60 nights. It's got a lot of space. I could lay out on this tent, even with my 25-inch pad, and I had room for all of my gear inside. To keep condensation low, I always had one door, almost always had one door open or both doors open, and I'd leave the mesh open like this as much as possible until the bugs started to come in. But with that, condensation was not bad. This tent was really great in hail and snow and rain and winds, and I love my Z-Packs Altiplex. What else did I love? I loved my Enlightened Equipment hoodie. I love this jacket. It was marvelous to have this when it was chilly and in early morning hiking when it was really cold out. I love this jacket. There are lots of other things that I like. One thing I really liked was my 1/8 inch thin light pad. It's, it was on the outside of my pack, so it's got some holes and tears and it's gotten some repairs. But this was so good to have on the bottom of my NeoAir sleeping pad because it would slip around in the tent. When I put this underneath, it would stay in place. This was also my sit pad. It was really nice to lay out. So it was a change for me to go from a small, thicker sit pad to a torso length pad like this, but I've really, really enjoyed using it. It's gonna last me till the end of this PCT trip and then probably not too much further, but I think that's pretty good. There's a lot of other things that I really like. One thing that I really loved is my Loco Libre quilt. This quilt was so warm. In fact, sometimes I could go for the 20 degree instead of this 10 degree. And then also I have the system to strap this to a sleeping pad. I didn't end up using that very much, and I'm not going to use it for the rest of the hike because this alone is just fine. So really, really happy with this. Many other pieces of gear that I've been really happy with. One thing that I really loved are my News reading glasses. These things are great. So for all of the older hikers that are out there who need some help with reading, those are awesome. Okay, a lot of other things that I really, really liked, but I want to go through now some things that also worked out really well that were changes that I made. The PCT this year had a ton of snow, and when I got to San Jacinto, I had micro spikes, and later in the Sierra, and on ice axe, and then I sent them ahead, and then I had them in the Sierra, and then after that, I just didn't get rid of them. So I've been carrying my Siluk 46 Tikka ice axe for the entire trip, and I'm probably going to carry this all the way to Canada. It's a way for me to keep myself safe and especially Dig Dug as well. So I'm going to keep carrying my ice axe. I mean, it's so light, and then when I get to those traverses that are a little sketchy, I'm set. So I'm just going to keep carrying this. One thing that I really liked were my Black Diamond micro spikes, but I found that the ones that I had that only had the front were a little sketchy if it was hard, icy downhills. So I switched and I bought the same ones in the full length size. These are really small micro spikes compared to some others, but I find that these are plenty. They work great. So I'm going to be keeping these, and I'll be carrying these, I think, the whole way through as well, because sketchy snow is not cool. I really liked my charging setup. I had this this Anchor flip out plug. I switched to the one that had 2 charging ports because one thing I found is that a 10,000 single 10,000 was just not enough for me, especially on longer food carries. And in the Sierra, I needed more. So I went ahead and got a second one. So now I'm carrying 2 of the 10,000 Nitecore batteries and really like those. These 2, by the way, are lighter than the single 20,000, except for the brand new one that they just came out with, which is slightly lighter than 2 of these. But I'm going to keep carrying 2 because battery anxiety is just not worth it. So I added a little bit of weight to my pack by carrying a second battery and a little bit larger charger, and then a second USB-C cable so I could charge everything as I went. Another change that I made, so I went with the masses and I switched to the Sawyer Squeeze. The Sawyer Squeeze had a lot faster flow than the filter that I was using, so I just added the coupler. If you're going to order the Sawyer Squeeze, go ahead and get the coupler so you can make it into the Gravity water filter system. But this is a little bit heavier, tiny bit, but the flow rate of this is so much faster. Cool trick. If you find that yours is getting clogged up, tap it before doing your back flush, and do your back flush really hard in the beginning, and that really forces out more of the crud. This thing has been awesome, and I've loved this. My entire family has now switched to the Sawyer Squeeze. So, yeah, in this case, popularity, I think, is better. Better piece of equipment. Something that has not worked out so well for me on this trip is the Uberlite, the Thermarest Uberlite sleeping pads. What's happened with these wide ones is that the baffles separate, and then when that happens, it's really uncomfortable and kind of strange to sleep on. So my first one, I had to return it, and I got this new one, and then my second one just did that also. The thing that's cool is that Thermarest stands 100% behind their products, so I know I'm going to be getting a new one, and hopefully the third one is a charm. But so far, reliability on the Uberlite, I'm not so sure. Favorite piece of gear still is my Hilltop Designs food bag, custom printed. I got to see my family every night, and I loved having this. So this is my favorite piece of gear. It was and still is. Now, a couple of things that also changed. One thing that you can see a video about this. One thing that changed that I am completely done with is Ultra shoes. My Ultra shoes are gone. I am not using those Temps. Those were awful. Comfortable, but they blew apart really fast, and then Ultra did not stand behind their products because I didn't buy it from the place that they wanted me to buy it, and I'm not okay with that. So I'm done with Ultra forever. My new Topo Ultra Venture Pros have been really, really durable. These are really looking good. They did develop a really slight kind of a squeaking noise, and it was kind of annoying. This little bit of I don't know if the foam is a little bit separating in the midsole. It was really just on the right shoe, the left one a tiny, but the right one mostly. But when I got in touch with Topo, they stood behind their product, and I'm going to be switching now to the Ultra Venture 3 for the next section. And so far, I am really, really happy with Topo shoes, and I'm excited to be doing many more miles with Topo. So, yep, there you go. Love Topo. One thing I want to talk about also is my Palante Desert Pack. So, first of all, some things that I love about this pack. I love the fact that I can put a 500 milliliter bottle in each of the shoulder pockets and have water where I don't have to like twist my arm backward, which doesn't work for me. So that's been really great. I love the under pocket and getting snacks throughout the day and having a little garbage port on this side. At the end of the day, I just empty the garbage out of the pocket and I'm good. I love the pocket for stashing the steaks right here. The size of this is great. When I did have to do longer water carries, it had a big pocket on each side, so I could do a 2 liter here, a 2 liter here, and then 1 liter with these bottles, and so I could carry 5 liters, and it was balanced, and I really like that. I found the capacity to be really good, and I carry my sleeping bag uncompressed and my tent uncompressed and loose, and a lot of my clothes that way, and this worked out really, really well. One thing that I have not been a fan of with this pack, I love that I can get rid of the waist belt, and the waist belt is okay when you're carrying some heavy water carries, but when you want to put the waist belt away and just do the shoulder straps, I found that with an ultralight load that when I was doing like a 1 or 2 day food carry, I didn't even need the waist belt, and that was awesome. But on the heavier food carries, one thing that I'm not a fan of is these shoulder straps. They're a little bit narrow, and they have that sewn through thing, which makes a hard edge on either side. And on the days when I was doing 5 day food carries, that really bit into my shoulders, and I was not a big fan of that. So one thing that I am doing is I'm adding these Z-Packs shoulder pads, and I'll be adding that in because when I'm hiking with Dig Dug, I'll be doing some heavier food carries, and that will help take the edge off of that. So I hope that helps. I did use a different pack in the Sierra, and that was a Superior Wilderness Designs pack with a full frame, and I love that pack. I needed that for the heavier carries. But for everything else, this has been a great pack. I just wish the shoulder straps were a little more contoured on the edges and maybe a little wider. But that's it. Love that. One other thing that I changed is I had the flashlight that would clip onto my hat. It was pretty good. The problem is that it would die pretty quickly if I was doing hikes for more than an hour in the darkness. And I ended up just switching to my Nightcore NU25UL. This headlamp just is working better for me. I can still hold it in my hand when I need to, but the battery just lasts a lot longer, and it's brighter, and it has a red light for being, working in your tent at night, and I'm switching to this for the rest of the hike. One other thing that I changed is I started off using a Holy Hiker bidet, and I gave the bidet thing a real shot. It's a great product, and I know it works well for a lot of people, but I just couldn't quite figure out the bidet thing. I found that I was actually using more toilet paper, and so I'm back to using natural teepee first, followed by some paper toilet paper, and I think that's what works for me. So yeah, the Holy Hiker bidet is gone. One other thing that changed for me, I really enjoyed cold soaking. It was just fine. I didn't really miss a stove very much. But I'll tell you one thing that I did discover, and that is mayo. I was hanging out with all these Europeans, and they all use a lot of mayonnaise, which I didn't understand. It's just not really an American thing. But I started buying things of mayonnaise, and I found that I liked that a lot better as added calories than olive oil. It added a creaminess to my cold-soaked ramen with tuna or whatever, and I really liked it. So I am now a mayo guy. So thank you to all of my friends from Europe who showed me the way. So I think that about covers it. Hey, thank you everybody, and if you have any questions about any of the gear that I used or selections that I made, of course you can take a look at my sub 10-pound video from before my hike, but I hope this update has been useful for you, and have a great time everybody. Until I see you next time, woohoo woohoo, it's Quaking Leaf.